The Stars and Stripes show is brought to you by the U.S. Embassy.
Well, it's Gabs FM, powered to engage your world. And of course, welcome to the Stars and Stripes radio show, proudly brought to you by the U.S. Embassy in partnership with Gabs FM and of course, Pula Sports. But listen up, let me tell you how important is investing in human capital. It is actually crucial for economic growth. Human capital, which encompasses the knowledge, skills, and abilities of individual, is a key driver in economic growth. Competitiveness. I mean, in today's global economy, nations, businesses must compete on the basis of talent and innovation. And of course, innovation and adaptation. Tongue twister there. And anyway, moving swiftly along, social mobility, improved quality of life, resilience of economic shocks, and of course, diversity and a lot more. That's why this topic of today is such an important conversation to have. And of course, have you ever wondered or thinking about studying in the USA? Well, this is the show that you want to be a part of it. And of course, for the Meet America policy discussion, we have Tegan Wittenberg, Education USA Advisor and American Spaces Coordinator. I hope I pronounced your...
Oh, yours okay. You're close enough.
Okay. Can you say Tsorofatso?
Oh, I'm afraid I'm going to really insult people if I even try.
Okay. I'm just teasing. And of course, we have Nicole Sinuku, who's the Education USA alumni. How are you?
I'm all good. How are you?
Fantastic. How was your week?
It's been good.
Yeah?
So far, so good.
Fantastic. And your week?
It's been great. Thanks.
Fantastic. Well, moving swiftly along, pun intended, let's get straight into it. And of course, Tegan, you know, many Botswana would like to study in the USA, but they just don't know how. They don't know where to start. And a lot of people don't understand the importance of being proactive. I think that's one thing that we've got to share on behalf of the Education USA. Please, before we do that, please tell us a little bit about yourself and, of course, your mandate and portfolio with the U.S. Embassy.
Yeah, sure. So I've been working in international education for about 10 years now, doing a little bit of everything, classroom teaching, program management. I'm currently the Education USA Advisor at the American Embassy, like you said. So my primary role is to just connect students with the information they need in order to pursue their studies in the United States. I also visit high schools. I support school counselors in sharing all that relevant information. I do monthly virtual advising sessions, which you can sign up for on the embassy website by emailing us through there. And I offer both group and one-on-one help with the whole application process.
Fantastic. So today we're breaking down the barriers. We're now saying that Education USA is available. It is accessible. And we're going to outline the ways that you can reach Education USA to get information about how to book. And even if one is in a high school and you're able to visit a high school and say, look, this is who we are as Education USA. These are some of the opportunities with Education USA. Look, let me hit you with this one. Why should students want to study in the United States?
Oh, man. So the American university system has so many options to really customize your studies. You can also get really interesting hands-on experience in your chosen field through things like internships and volunteering or on-campus jobs, participating in research in a lab or something like that. And you can really equip yourself for a really great professional future and develop some great skills. A lot of people talk about how they learn how to do public speaking or become a much better writer through their coursework.
Absolutely. And what is the application process like? You know, sometimes we get anxiety just thinking, okay, I need to do an application process. Do I have what it takes? And especially, you know, parents. Sometimes parents underestimate the importance of doing research and understanding what are the steps.
Oh, definitely. So the process can really take a long time. So students should definitely start early. Ideally, at least 2 years in advance.
Okay.
I know that's a long time, but there are a series of progressive deadlines that you're going to be encountering throughout the whole process. So you want to be mindful of that.
Yeah.
So students should first off figure out what they want to study.
Yeah.
Right? Like figure out their ideal program and, you know, take into consideration the job opportunities back here in Botswana. At that point, you would then research which opportunities can offer that and may provide opportunities for things like internships or, you know, work-study programs that would really enhance your experience. Students really need to consider where in the U.S. they want to live. It's a huge country, different,
absolutely.
culture, climate, cost of living across all of it. So that's a big factor as well. Once you've selected several universities, and that's the other thing, you want to actually apply to multiple programs,
So
ideally.
cast your net.
Yeah, cast the net wide fully. Find out what their requirements are for international student applications, which are
Okay.
going to be a little different from American student applications. But American universities will usually consider each application holistically. So meaning they look at the whole student. They're not just looking at your grades. So
Yeah.
if you aren't one of the top students, that's okay. That won't necessarily be a problem for you. I mean, it certainly helps, but it's not the end of the journey. There are a lot of other things that are taken into consideration. Things like you said, community service, volunteerism. Also, participation in extracurricular activities, sports, music, theater, or if you're on a student leadership body of some sort. All of those things are really great on an application and helpful for financial aid as well. So if that's an option for students, they should 100% look into that. Additionally, in the process, students are going to have to do things like get their transcripts evaluated to make sure they translate to the American style
System,
of
yeah.
system.
Yeah.
They're also going to potentially have to take certain exams like the SATs if they're
Yes.
a high school student, the
Yes.
GREs if they're a postgraduate looking
Yes.
to do a master's degree. Although some universities are now accepting applications without those test scores, so that may be an option as well. They can search test blind universities for that. They'll also have to write personal statements and get letters of recommendation from teachers, employers, others who know them well. And they need to think about the story they want to tell about themselves and the story they want to tell with their lives and with the degree they want to pursue.
Absolutely.
And how they answer those questions is going to impact both their admission and their eligibility for financial aid. So, yeah, it's going to be really important for students to be proactive and seek out all these resources and information throughout the whole process.
Well, it's Gabs FM Power to engage you. Well, let me tell you something. Diverse academic programs is also part and parcel of the opportunities that afford to study abroad. American institutions offer a wide range of academic programs and majors, allowing students to explore various fields of study and customize their education to suit their interests and career goals. But one of my absolute favorites is cultural diversity. In the U.S., students have the opportunity to interact with people from diverse cultural backgrounds, which can broaden their perspectives and help them develop better understanding to different cultures and, of course, networking and a lot. Let me ask you this, Tegan. And how important is it to be proactive? Because I see a culture within, Education USA where Botswana or parents just wait till the student is eligible and they're looking for university this year. How important is it from your vantage point for students and parents to be proactive? I like what you said. Sometimes you need to be 2 years prior to your application process. I think it's important to take this opportunity to educate Botswana about the importance of being proactive with your application.
Oh, definitely. So you really have to plan ahead as much as possible. The thing with American culture, and this is reflected in their educational institutions, it's a very independent culture. Individualism is a major foundation of how we identify ourselves and interact with each other. And, for some people that can be quite challenging, but it is reflected in our institutions. And so students really need to prioritize doing their research, asking questions when they can't find information they need, seeking everything out well in advance, get real comfortable using Google because you're going to be on it a lot.
Yeah. Screen time. Yes. Let's talk about funding sources. That is one thing that I think in the World Wide Web and the idea of selecting a university, selecting what state, and also having the ability to find, the best funding source match, for lack of a better word. How can one go about doing that, and what kind of funding sources are available?
Well, this is the first question most students have, not just in Botswana, but like everywhere, to be honest. So here at the Education USA Advising Center, we can advise students about their options and direct them to a variety of funding sources. There are a lot of options. So most universities will offer some sort of financial aid to some international students. That could include something like a waiver for the application fee, which those can really add up if you're applying to multiple schools. And when you apply for admissions, there's a part of that where you'll have the opportunity to also apply for funding. A lot of universities already offer partial scholarships to international students. And here again, grades are not the only factor. They're also going to look at financial need and merit. I have also, in my interactions with a lot of universities in the U.S., they're really interested in recruiting students from sub-Saharan Africa.
Wow.
Diversity is highly valued, and they really want to have those voices represented on campus. So there are funding options available.
Powerful.
Absolutely. There are also funding sources independently through private organizations. So the MasterCard Foundation Scholars is one example that gives quite a lot of scholarship money. And if anyone listening today is interested in study in the U.S. And wants to learn more about that, we host virtual advising sessions monthly for both undergraduate and postgraduate students.
Nice.
And we can also provide some individualized support for students from our advising center in Gaborone. If you follow us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, you'll see a lot of information about those kinds of advising events coming up, and you can find out how to contact us.
Don't say we didn't tell you. It's Gabs FM Power to engage your world. Engage, like, and share, and follow the U.S. Embassy on all social media platforms. Let me tell you something. You need to be proactive about your future and be the change you want to see. It is entirely your responsibility, but the opportunities are available for you. Tegan, let me offer you this opportunity to share your parting statement.
So just on a personal level, I love working with international students. I love supporting people in seeking out their dreams and pursuing that. I myself was a student who didn't have a lot of support and resources in my own higher education. So it's something that I'm very passionate about, and I'm very, very eager to support any students who would like to study in the U.S. as best as I can in pursuing that dream.
So find her. Her name is Tegan. Find her, find her, find her. Moving swiftly along, pun intended. Your time is 12:29.
8 FM.
12:32 is your time, and of course, welcome back to the Stars and Stripes radio show, proudly brought to you by the U.S. Embassy in partnership with Gabs FM, hashtag shared prosperity. And the objective of this particular show is to highlight the bilateral relationship between the U.S. government and the BW government and showcase the importance of collaboration. And of course, today we're speaking to Education USA alumni. She goes by the name Nicole Sinoko. How are you, Nikki, and welcome to the show?
Thank you for having me, Swift. I'm so good.
Yeah,
Good to be back home.
Welcome home. Welcome home. Look, for someone who's trying to gauge who you are and what you do, just introduce yourself and, of course, your experience with Education USA or the United States.
Okay. Kibidua Kumo Nicole Sinuku. I prefer being called Nicole. And I am... It's so funny, in my personal statement, I almost wrote from the dusty roads of Tlokweng and Malapolole.
I like that.
But yes, I was actually born and raised in Tlokweng, but I was born in Gaborone and raised in Tlokweng. And I'm partly from Malapolole, so
What's south there?
More south there.
Okay.
I graduated 10 years ago with a BA Media Studies at the University of Botswana.
Nice.
I actually did public relations and radio and English as another major because at the time it was a double major.
Okay.
Then I've been on radio before. I'm Nikki Fix It.
I like that. Yes. Nikki Fix It.
I'm Nikki Fix It. I used to do it with Yaron FM.
Yes.
But currently I am a corporate affairs specialist. I'm basically working with the BS group. And I'm so grateful actually for the sabbatical they gave me to actually go study and come back.
Fantastic. And of course, how and where did you collide with Education USA or the opportunity to study in the United States? Just walk us through that journey.
It's quite an interesting journey that I've been involved with the U.S. Embassy and quite a lot of their initiatives. First and foremost, I used to sit on their Youth Advisory Council back in 2011. Then we used to work quite a lot with Re Launa Segaetso, may his soul rest in peace. We used to actually do quite a lot of engagements with him. And I ended up actually being... selected as young upcoming women leaders in Botswana and had an opportunity to engage with Michelle Obama when she was here for her presidential visit in Botswana, which was quite amazing. Then I moved over to actually doing the Key Fix It and doing quite a lot of things. I was part of Botswana Student Network at some point, working with the likes of Lillian Moremi, and we used to do quite a lot of work. Botswana, we were taking opportunities, career development and motivational speaking to Mahilatona Lebo Sirinani.
Okay,
and
wow.
So some of the sponsorship that we got was from the US Embassy. So Tiken, there's no way you guys can't give me a PhD scholarship.
I like that.
Anyway,
plug in.
you know, you have to plug it in.
Yes.
So as time went on, I started looking for opportunities. There is the Atlas Corps that is offered in the US. I applied for that, and I also applied for universities in the UK and the US. Before I could go anyway, let me just state how easy it is to actually enter into US universities as opposed to any other in the world.
Yeah.
Because I got so many rejections. Since 2013, I've been applying for a master's right after my my graduation. So when you're talking about being proactive, you're actually talking about me, because I've always been seeking out for these opportunities. We all need to understand that there's no one who's going to actually leave their office to come and knock at your door and say, I have this thing for you.
Absolutely.
So I've applied for a couple of universities. In 2016, I was actually admitted at Ohio University to do communication for development. But there was quite a lot of stuff, funding involved. I did not have funding, so I ended up having to lose my admission.
Okay.
Then 2021, I also started the process. So I actually started the process in 2020 fall, which is basically from your October, November. Start looking out for opportunities where I can apply for my master's. And what you also need to do is, while you're applying for schools, you need to think of what your thesis topic is going to be, so that the moment you actually get the admission or you get the opportunity to start rolling out your application, which is your personal statement, they asked us to actually produce biographies and all that. So in the biography, you need to state where you grew up and how your study in the US actually is actually going to impact your life right after the study. So it was very important for me to write quite a lot of stuff, my background on the personal statement, and also produce a vision statement to say, post my study, this is how I'm going to apply what I would have studied. And this is basically what I want to study in America also.
Where did you study in the USA, if you don't mind me asking?
I just recently completed my Master of Sustainable Development Practice
Hello.
with the University of Florida.
Hello.
So I was in the Sunshine State.
Yeah, by the cut of Florida, by the beach there.
Hey, it's a king. Hurricanes and tornadoes, don't forget those. You know, it was quite interesting to experience the whole hurricane and thing. When you're from a landlocked country, it's quite interesting. When somebody says, pack up your bags, water might just come.
Yes.
And you're like, no, let's chill. You know, and I think my belief in God also helped me while I was there, because I kept on saying to them, I've prayed, don't worry.
So did you get a full scholarship? Talk to me about your experience in terms of funding and your particular experience in terms of the university you went to.
So going back to 2021, January, I actually submitted my application.
Okay.
Then February, March, April, nothing came back. And they start responding to us in April, because some of us have actually done early applications.
Okay, fantastic.
So June 4th, I got my admission. Then 6 days later, I got another call to say there's a scholarship opportunity, you need to apply. And I applied today, and tomorrow I was called for an interview.
Wow.
So look at the 6-hour difference also. The interview that I prepared for was for totally something different from the interview process for admission, because I was admitted for Master of Sustainable Development, but the scholarship opportunity was to support the Department of Languages, Literatures and Culture within the University of Florida. And I had to learn Swahili, a little bit of it. And yes.
Yeah, our president was actually promoting an initiative for us to now start learning Swahili in terms of the African Continental Free Trade Area plug in, because, you know, it is a widespread language on the continent.
Yeah, and somebody may ask why. At UB, like I said, I had majored in English language. So it's so easy for you to apply the same principles onto any other African language and actually prepare, because I was now the editor of a Yoruba language online journal as my GRA job, which is graduate research assistantship. And it was partial at the beginning, but because I actually showed everything, you just go an extra mile in America, opportunities open. For example, if at all you were given an 8,000 US dollars scholarship, which is partial, but your program needs you to have 12,000. Once you showcase and apply yourself, going beyond what you are actually hired for and keeping your grades up. Total GPA for you, grad school in America is 4.0. And total GPA required for you to keep your scholarship is 3.0. So mine was always 4.0.
Nice.
You know, and people are always telling me, why are you doing this at grad level? And I said to them, because I'm open for other opportunities. So I got admitted, for example, with an 8,000 US dollars scholarship, but the professor ended up actually seeking out for opportunities for me because I showed up.
Yeah.
So you show up and you take up the space and you own the space and you apply yourself. Anything else is possible.
I think that's one thing that I've noticed about US culture is the fact that you're walking into more of what I call a meritocracy. And as long as you're competent and you show good character,
Absolutely.
you know, you can definitely, you know, progress. And it's something that, you know, I love what you say, you know, you've got to be able to have that spirit of going the extra mile. You never know what kind of opportunity. I mean, today you're walking, you come from Tlokweng, today you went to the US and now you are at one of the leading private sector players within country, and that's already a testament of some of these opportunities that Botswana need to take advantage of. Let me ask you this question: culture shock. Tlokweng, or Tambo, did you land via Atlanta?
At the time, it was actually interesting. If you had been in South Africa, you're not allowed in America.
Jeez.
Because of COVID.
Yes.
Remember, I left during the transition from Delta into Omicron, which was basically detected in Botswana. So it was quite very difficult to get a visa.
Yes.
Tegan will tell you.
Yes.
But we had to go through Addis. Then from Addis, we went through Washington, D.C.
Fantastic.
Then Florida. It
Yes.
was quite amazing. Culture shock. Number one, our days are not the same. There are times where 6 p.m. feels like it's still early in the morning at 8 because life would have just been going on. And you're like, but I'm trying to
time is money,
shut
money
down
is time.
to manage myself so that I'm close to sleeping. The sun will actually set at 8 p.m. at some point. And there were times where 7 a.m. feels like 5:30 a.m. in the morning. So I struggled a little bit to adjust
Acclimatize,
in terms of that. Then, like I said, I talked about the food. The food is quite interesting.
Talk to
you
me.
have 4 different types, actually 6 different types of potatoes, onions, tomatoes,
Wow.
Doritos. You have to know what is it that you want, or else you're going to pick something and when you get home, doesn't taste like the last one. For example, when we look at other, like, let's talk chips. You've got your Mexican chili, your barbecue, your vinegar and whatnot. In America, is a whole lot.
Yeah.
It's
a whole range.
You've got Parmesan and garlic.
Ah, fantastic.
Anyway, but my biggest was basically the dress code to school. People were actually rocking their yoga pants to class. What you wear at the gym, you'll see people basically in class wearing that. So my first 3 months, I felt like I was overdressed. As the time went on, I was like, hey, ke Motswana. So now we cover up, you know. And I got to understand that it's also because Florida is quite, it's a sunshine state.
Yes.
Quite hot and humid. So the dress code was, but even as our bodies just acclimatized quickly. Then the other culture shock is everybody thought I was Nigerian. They will start saying, "Oh, you're Nigerian, right?" And I'm like, "No, you know, I'm not. I'm not Nigerian, but
I'm
don't
from
worry.
the south.
But don't worry, my grandfather is actually the chief of Wakanda, so we played around with that, which was quite good. Then the other thing is people don't greet you back. So first 3 months I was saying hi to everybody, and they were just looking at me like, "Excuse me, where are you from?" So I had to learn that I am from a very communal society. I'm moving into an individualistic society where you do your own taxes. You basically
you
do
pour your own gas,
accounting,
you do, yeah.
And I had to pay my taxes the first time because I had a social security and I worked in the school, so I had to submit my returns, and I got to find out that there were some economic issues between our country and America. Therefore, I had to pay more.
Let me ask you this question. Let's fast forward to 2024, and of course the investment. When you're back in Botswana, I mean, you've studied, and what would you say in terms of that opportunity and what it's doing for you today in terms of your career development, your career path as a young Botswana who's trying to get ahead, and of course a young woman as well? What did this opportunity to study in the USA do for you today?
I'd say I gained both international exposure in terms of the understanding academia as a scholar, applying myself as a scholar, and also the work ethic. It's fast-paced, and I'm thankful because the company that I work for, the BS Group, is just as multinational, for example, first and foremost, and secondly, it is also fast-paced.
Yes.
So it was easy for me to actually get on with the clock and work.
Yes.
But then the other thing is the opportunities that I had beyond the classroom. When I graduated, I was given awards across all the bodies that I was part of. I was part of the the University of Florida African Choir that actually gave me an opportunity to share stage with different musical maestros from different countries.
Wow.
Cuba, Senegal,
Wow.
because they always had different people come for the Afrofest every year.
Absolutely.
So that was, for me, was a highlight. I was also part of a leadership services platform where I had to work and appreciate the Martin Luther King history and literally be taken to Atlanta to go do the same work that he used to do.
Wow.
Which was quite beautiful. I did a lot of community engagement and volunteerism, like you said earlier. I worked with non-profit organizations that were within the Alachua County that I was based in, and I got to attend conferences that were basically within my thesis and outside, which was quite beautiful. And I was part of the Africa Digital Networking Group, where we basically look at how digitalization is being actually rolled out in Africa and how the University of Florida could actually chip into fast track certain areas. We've been talking about moving from analog to digital in Botswana and how many years it has actually taken. I was also part of the African Studies graduate program experience, where we basically prepare other African students to come. I worked as a guest lecturer also at US high schools, which was a total culture shock there, because from a point, how the culture of pop culture.
Yes.
People have their tags maybe at 32, whatnot, but there you found a student at 15 having one, and
Yes.
everything. So just being given an opportunity to go and talk about Botswana, sell Botswana as a diamond producer, and sell Botswana I used to say to them, you're looking at a diamond when they ask me what
Absolutely.
kind, because you know how we breathe, eat, and live diamonds.
Yes.
Because we've benefited from it. So it's one thing to theoretically be taught about something, and it's another to actually practice. So my thesis was around systems thinking in addressing structural poverty amongst formerly incarcerated people. So I was looking at applying my thesis, not just in the US, but beyond. I've thought about what I can do in Botswana. So we had all those opportunities where you apply it and present the American context and apply and present the Botswana perspective, or just the African perspective.
Well, it's Gabs FM, power to engage your world. And of course, we're talking how to study in the United States. And you're on the Thousand Stripes radio show, proudly brought to you by the U.S. Embassy. On the other side of this, I'm going to ask you your parting statement. And what would you say to Botswana and young people within country in terms of the importance of obviously keeping an eye out for things like Education USA opportunities and, of course, studying abroad? Your time across the nation is 12:50. Good.
The Stars and Stripes show is brought to you by the U.S. Embassy.
Well, it's Gabs FM, power to engage your world. And of course, welcome back to the Stars and Stripes radio show, proudly brought to you by the U.S. Embassy. And of course, this is where we get to share the bilateral relationship between the U.S. Embassy and, of course, BW government. And I'm speaking to Nicole Sinuku, who's Education USA alumni. She's had the absolute honor of studying in the United States, and she is here to just share her experience. Let me ask you, what would you say to Botswana wako gai? What would you say to Botswana and Botsadi about, some of the opportunities that you got? I mean, and one thing that you've got to admit, it broadens your mind and your horizon. You're not thinking like, the average thinker. You're thinking totally different. Talk to us.
And you actually get to understand the country's development issues more better when you are outside than when you're here.
Let's do this. Put on your headphones. Let me take a call. Somebody might be asking a relevant question. Oh, I missed that call. 395-6962. If you'd like to ask any questions around Education USA, around studying in the USA, we'll definitely do our best to, answer your question. But feel free to call us on 395-6962. And of course, we'll continue conversation. If that call comes back in, let me take it now. Gabs FM, good afternoon. Hello.
Good afternoon, Swifty.
How are you, brother?
Thanks for speaking to TL and Associates from our very beloved town. And hey, good afternoon to you, Nicole, as well.
Hi.
Happen to be one of my favorite people, Nicole. Welcome back to Botswana.
Lovely.
Hey, one question for Nicole. Look, it's all well and good what you guys are doing. Education's one of our banes here in Botswana. I want to know, in terms of getting our education system on par with what the first world is teaching their students in terms of, especially after, I'm talking tertiary education level. We've noticed that we are a little bit behind in terms of our syllabus here in Botswana. And when we exchange students, or when we have engagements with people that have come from abroad, such as Nicole, we find we are miles and miles of years behind. Is there anything that the embassy is doing to sort of capacitate our professionals here in Botswana, maybe working with the BQA and getting some accreditation? Because I know that there's huge talk on sustainability and reaching carbon zero, and there are, in fact, courses on how to better be sustainable in our practices, and I haven't yet seen any professional courses here in Botswana for professionals or institutions. Is there anything like that on the pipeline, Nicole?
Okay, I'll allow her to answer, okay?
Yes, thanks, sir.
Thank you. Well, I don't think you're best suited to answer that question, but I do know that the U.S. Embassy does invest in teachers. I know there's the Fulbright scholarship that is offered by the U.S. Embassy, and that, it's...
And there's the Okavango Research Program that they do through the UB and Fulbrighters, because I've actually had an opportunity of interacting with some of them when they were in the U.S.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, quite a lot.
So I do know that that is the U.S. government's, sort of investment in human capital. I mean, look, whether we like it or not, it's a mammoth task. And, the U.S. can only contribute where they can, and of course, in partnership with BW government. But we're fast running out of time. Nicole, let me offer you this opportunity to share your parting statement.
My parting statement is actually in 3 ways. First of all, get your self-awareness intact, because America is a big world. It's not just a 5-hour drive from Gaborone to Francistown.
Yeah.
That's how vast it is. Then secondly, be agile and adaptable, and be sure to hit the ground running. Take those proactive initiative skills and make sure that you get yourself out there. Choose a university in a state that matches the same weather as the one in Botswana. Just that in protection of your own mental health. The reason why people get homesick is because you're away from home and the weather is actually doing its own thing on you. So you better do that. Then get involved beyond your day-to-day school or your day-to-day job.
Yeah.
That's how I basically opened doors for myself. There is quite a lot of people out there who are waiting to positively support you. I know I had a few doors closed on my face because, for example, one of the things that is required in before a scholarship is actually released on the other side, you have to have at least $8,000 that you show that I have it in my bank account.
Available balance.
So
yeah.
I knocked on doors, on a few doors that did not open. But once the U.S. Embassy actually did say I'm the first Botswana to do my master's, then I started getting calls and emails thereafter. And I'm open to collaboration, which is one of the things that I'm looking forward to. So social entrepreneurship, that space, I would like to do something on it. Ecotourism, and also see how I can best apply myself at the BS group and outside to make sure that I roll out social impact as positive and as real as it's supposed to be done.
Well, it's Cabs FM, power to engage you. Well, someone's looking for you on the social. Is it Nikki the Fix It, or where do we find you?
I'm actually open to helping anybody who wants to apply in any university.
Wow.
Please reach out to me on Instagram. It's Nikki Be Passionate, or just Nicole Sunuku. You'll see my pretty face there.
Okay.
Facebook is Nikki Nicole Kaler. And I also have my active Nikki Fix It on Yarona that I used back in the day. So students that really need to be helped in terms of finding scholarships or getting in. May I say this? You first have to get in, then get a scholarship.
I like that. Well, that's how we wrap up the show. Let me tell you, like, share, and interact with Education USA. And of course, you can also get more information, www.bw.usembassy.gov. And you can get more information just on once you're on that page, you can just basically search study in the USA, and you'll get more information that will be directed through the US Embassy in Botswana. Remember, like, share, and interact with the US Embassy on all social media platforms. And above all, be proactive. Let me tell you, volunteerism is important, but also do not forget to record your volunteerism. It's important that you have your hourly, some form of record, and of course, paper trail of your volunteerism. Remember, let's be proactive, ladies and gentlemen. Otherwise, from myself and the Stars and Stripes crew, good afternoon.
The Stars and Stripes show was brought to you by the U.S. Embassy.